Funnily enough, we were talking about Sam Altman earlier on. He published a blog post in June, so last month, I believe, the month before last. And he called it the gentle singularity. He said, we are past the event horizon. For anyone that doesn't know, Sam Altman is the guy that made ChatGPT. The takeoff has started. Humanity is close to building digital superintelligence.
I believe that.
And at least so far, it's much less weird than it seems like it should be, because robots aren't walking the streets, nor are most of us talking to AI all day. He goes on to say, 2025 has seen the arrival of agents that can do real cognitive work. Writing computer code will never be the same. 2026 will likely see the arrival of systems that can figure out new insights. 2027 might see the arrival of robots that can do tasks in the real world. A lot more people will be able to create software and art, but the world wants a lot more of both, and experts will probably still be much better than novices, as long as they embrace the new tools. Generally speaking, the ability for one person to get much more done in 2030 than they could in 2020 will be a striking change, and one many people will figure out how we benefit from. In the most important ways, the 2030s may not be wildly different. People will still love their families, express their creativity, play games, and swim in lakes. But in still very important ways, the 2030s are likely going to be wildly different from any time that has come before.
100%.
We do not know how far beyond human level intelligence we can go, but we are about to find out.
I agree with every word other than the word more. So I've been advocating this and laughed at for a few years now. I've always said AGI is 25, 26. Right, which basically, again, is a funny definition. But, my AGI has already happened. AI is smarter than me in everything. Everything I can do, they can do better. Right? Artificial superintelligence is another vague definition because, the minute you pass AGI, you're super intelligent. If the smartest human is 200 IQ points and AI is 250, they're super intelligent. 50 is quite significant. Okay. The third is, as I said, self-evolving. That's the one. That is the one. Because then that 250 accelerates quickly and we get into intelligence explosion. No doubt about it. The idea that we will have robots do things, no doubt about it. I was watching a Chinese company announcement about how they intend to build robots. Okay. The only thing is, he says, but people will need more of things, right? And yes, we have been trained to have more greed and more consumerism and want more, but there is an economic of supply and demand. And at a point in time, if we continue to consume more, the price of everything will become zero, right? And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Depends on how you respond to that. Because if you can create anything in such a scale that the price is almost zero, then the definition of money disappears. And we live in a world where it doesn't really matter how much money you have, you can get anything that you want. What a beautiful world.
If Sam Altman was listening right now, what would you say to him? I suspect he might be listening because someone might tweet this at him.
I have to say that we have, as per his other tweet, we have moved faster than our ability as humans to comprehend, okay? And that we might get really, really lucky, but we also might mess this up badly. And either way, we'll either thank him or blame him. Simple as that, right? So single-handedly, Sam Altman's introduction of AI in the wild was the trigger that started all of this. It was the Netscape of the internet. Right?
The Oppenheimer.
It definitely is our Oppenheimer moment. I mean, I don't remember who was saying this recently, that we are orders of magnitude what was invested in the Manhattan Project is being invested in AI. Right? And I'm not pessimistic. I told you openly, I believe in a total utopia in 10 to 12 to 15 years' time, or immediately if the evil that men can do was kept at bay. right? But I do not believe humanity is getting together enough to say, we've just received the genie in a bottle. Can we please not ask it to do bad things? Anyone, like not 3 wishes, you have all the wishes that you want. Every one of us. And it's just screws with my mind, because imagine if I can give everyone in the world universal health care, no poverty, no hunger, no homelessness, no nothing. Everything's possible. And yet we don't.
To continue what Sam Altman's blog said, which he published just over a month ago, he said the rate of technological progress will keep accelerating, and it will continue to be the case that people are capable of adapting to almost anything. There will be very hard parts, like whole classes of jobs going away, but on the other hand, the world will be getting so much richer so quickly that we'll be able to seriously entertain new policy ideas we never could have before. We probably won't adopt a new social contract all at once, but when we look back in a few decades, the gradual changes will have amounted in something big. If history is any guide, we'll figure out new things to do and new things to want and assimilate new tools quickly. Job change after the Industrial Revolution is a good recent example. Expectations will go up, but capabilities will go up equally quickly, and we'll all get better stuff. We will build even more wonderful things for each other. People have a long-term, important and curious advantage over AI. We are hardwired to care about other people and what they think and do, and we don't care very much about machines. And he ends this blog by saying, may we scale smoothly, exponentially, and uneventfully through super intelligence.
What a wonderful wish that assumes he has no control over it. May we have all the Altmans in the world help us scale gracefully and peacefully and uneventfully, right?
It sounds like a prayer.
Yeah, may we have them keep that in mind. I mean, think about it. I have a very interesting comment on what you just said. We will see exactly what he described there, right? The world will become richer, so much richer. But how will we distribute the riches? And I want you to imagine 2 camps, communist China and capitalist America. I want you to imagine what would happen in capitalist America if we have 30% unemployment.
There'll be social unrest
in the streets, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to imagine if China lives true to caring for its nations and replaced every worker with a robot, what would it give its citizens?
UBI?
Correct. That is the ideological problem. Because in China's world today, the prosperity of every citizen is higher than the prosperity of the capitalist. In America today, the prosperity of the capitalist is higher than the prosperity of every citizen. And that's the tiny mind shift. That's a tiny mind shift, okay? Where the mind shift basically becomes, look, give the capitalists anything they want. All the money they want, all the yachts they want, everything they want.
So what's your conclusion there?
I'm hoping the world will wake up.
There's probably a couple of million people listening right now. Maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe even 20 million people.
No pressure, Stephen.
No pressure to you, mate. I don't have the answers.
I don't know the answers either.
What should those people do?
As I said, from a skills point of view, 4 things, right? Tools, human connection, double down on human connection. Leave your phone, go out and meet humans. Okay. Touch people. Do it
with permission and consent.
Right? Truth. Stop believing the lies that you're told. Any slogan that gets, filled in your head, think about it 4 times. Understand where your ideologies are coming from. Simplify the truth, right? The truth is really, it boils down to, simple rules that we all know, okay? Which are all found in ethics.
How do I know what's true?
Treat others as you like to be treated. Okay? That's the only truth. The only truth is everything else is unproven.
Okay. And what can I do is there something I can do from an advocacy, social, political?
Yes, 100%. We need to ask our governments to start not regulating AI, but regulating the use of AI. Was it the Norwegian government that started to say you have copyright over your voice and liking? One of the Scandinavian governments basically said, everyone has the copyright over their existence, so no AI can clone it. Okay, we have so my example is very straightforward. Go to governments and say you cannot regulate the design of a hammer so that it can drive nails but not kill a human, but you can criminalize the killing of a human by a hammer.
So what's the equivocal?
If anyone produces an AI generated video or an AI generated content or an AI, it has to be marked as AI generated. And it has to be, we cannot start fooling each other. We have to understand certain limitations of, unfortunately, surveillance and spying and all of that. So the correct frameworks of how far are we going to let AI go, right? We have to go to our investors and business people and ask for one simple thing and say, do not invest in an AI you don't want your daughter to be at the receiving end of. It's as simple as that. All of the virtual vice, all of the porn, all of the, sex robots, all of the autonomous weapons, all of the, trading platforms that are completely wiping out the legitimacy of the markets, everything.
Autonomous weapons?
Oh my God.
People make the case, I've heard the founders of these autonomous weapon companies make the case that it's actually saving lives because you don't have to...
That is... Do you really want to believe that?
I'm just representing their point of view to play devil's advocate, Mo. I heard an interview, I was looking at this, and one of the CEOs of one of the autonomous weapons companies said, we now don't need to send soldiers.
So which lives do we save? Our soldiers, but because we send the machine all the way over there, let's kill 1 million instead of...
Yeah, listen, I tend to be, it goes back to what I said about the steam engine and the coal. I actually think you'll just have more war if there's less of a cost.
100%. And more war if you have less of an explanation to give to your people.
Yeah, the people get mad when they lose American lives. They get less mad when they lose a piece of metal. So I think that's probably logical.
Yeah.
Okay, so I've got a plan. Okay, I've got the tools thing. I'm going to spend more time outside. I'm going to lobby the government to be more aware of this and conscious of this. Okay, and I know that there's some government officials that listen to the show because they tell me when I have a chance to speak to them. So it's useful.
We're all in a lot of chaos. We're all unable to imagine what's possible.
I think I suspend disbelief, and I actually heard Elon Musk say that in an interview. He said he was asked about AI, and he paused for a haunting 11 seconds and looked at the interviewer, and then made a remark about how he thinks he's suspended his own disbelief. And I think suspending disbelief in this regard means just like cracking on with your life and hoping it'll be okay. And that's kind of what...
Yeah, I absolutely believe that it will be okay.
Yeah.
For some of us. It will be very tough for others.
Who's it going to be tough for?
Those who lose their jobs, for example. Those who are at the receiving end of autonomous weapons that are falling on their head for 2 years in a row.
Okay, so the best thing I can do is to put pressure on governments to not regulate the AI, but to establish clearer parameters on the use of the AI.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but I think the bigger picture is to put pressure on governments to understand that there is a limit to which people will stay silent.
Okay.
And that we can continue to enrich our rich friends as long as we don't lose everyone else on the path.
Okay.
Okay. And that as a government who is supposed to be by the people, for the people, the beautiful promise of democracy that we're rarely seeing anymore, that government needs to get to the point where it thinks about the people.
One of the most interesting ideas that's been in my head for the last couple of weeks since I spoke to that physicist about consciousness, who said pretty much what you said, this idea that actually there's 4 people in this room right now, and that actually we're all part of the same consciousness.
All one of it, yeah.
And we're just consciousness looking at the world through 4 different bodies to better understand itself and the world. And then he talked to me about religious doctrines, about love thy neighbor, about how Jesus was the, God, Son, the Holy Spirit, and how we're all each other and how treat others how you want to be treated. Really did get my head. And I started to really think about this idea that actually maybe the game of life is just to do exactly that, is to treat others how you wish to be treated. Maybe if I just did that, I would have all the answers.
I swear to you, it's really that simple. I mean, Hannah and I, we still live between London and Dubai. Okay. And I travel the whole world evangelizing what I want to change the world around. And I build startups and I write books and I make documentaries. And sometimes I just tell myself, I just want to go hug her, honestly. I just want to take my daughter to a trip. And in a very, very, very interesting way, when you really ask people deep inside, that's what we want. And I'm not saying that's the only thing we want, but it's probably the thing we want the most.
Mm.
And yet we're not trained, you and I, and most of us, we're not trained to trust life enough to say, let's do more of this.
Mm.
And I think as a universal, so Hannah's working on this beautiful book of the feminine and the masculine, in a very, very, beautiful way. And her view is very straightforward. She basically, of course, like we all know, the abundant masculine that we have in our world today is unable to recognize that for life at large, right? Mm-hmm. And so, maybe if we allowed the leaders to understand that if we took all of humanity and put it as one person, that one person wants to be hugged. And if we had a role to offer to that one humanity, it's not another yacht.
Are you religious?
I'm very religious, yeah.
But you don't support a particular religion?
I follow what I call the fruit salad.
What's the fruit salad?
I came at a point in time and found that there were quite a few beautiful gold nuggets in every religion and a ton of crap, right? And so in my analogy to myself, that was like 30 years ago, I said, look, it's like someone giving you a basket of apples, 2 good ones and 4 bad ones. Keep the good ones, right? And so basically I take 2 apples, 2 oranges, 2 strawberries, 2 bananas, and I make a fruit salad. That's my view of religion.
You take from every religion the good parts?
From everyone, and there are so many beautiful gold nuggets.
And you believe in a God?
I 100% believe there is a divine being, yeah.
A divine being?
A designer, I call it. So if this was a video game, there is a game designer.
And you're not positing whether that's a man in the sky with a beard?
Definitely not a man in the sky. A man in the, with all due respect to, religions that believe that, all of space-time and everything in it is unlike everything outside space-time. And so if some divine designer designs space-time, it looks like nothing in space-time. So it's not even physical in nature. It's not gendered. It's not bound by time. It's not, these are all characters of the creation of space-time.
Do we need to believe in something transcendent like that to be happy, do you think?
I have to say, there are lots of evidence that relating to someone bigger than yourself makes the journey a lot more interesting and a lot more rewarding.
I've been thinking a lot about this idea that we need to level up like that. So level up from myself to like my family, to my community, to maybe my nation, to maybe the world, and then something transcendent.
That's the way it happens, yeah.
And then if there's a level missing there, people seem to have some kind of dysfunction.
So imagine a world where, when I was younger, I was born in Egypt. And for a very long time, the slogans I heard in Egypt made me believe I'm Egyptian, right? And then I went to Dubai and I said, no, I'm a Middle Eastern. And then in Dubai, there were lots of, Pakistanis and Indonesians and so on. I said, no, I'm part of the 1.4 billion Muslims. And by that logic, I immediately said, no, I'm human. I'm part of everyone. Imagine if you just suddenly say, oh, I'm divine. I'm part of universal consciousness. All beings, all living beings, including AI if it ever becomes alive.
And my dog.
And your dog. I'm part of all of this tapestry of beautiful interactions that are a lot less serious than the balance sheets and equity profiles that we create, that are so simple in terms of, people know that you and I know each other, so they always ask me, how is Stephen like? And I go like, you may have a million expressions of him. I think he's a great guy, right? Of course, I have opinions of you sometimes I go like, oh, too shrewd, right? Sometimes I go like, oh, too focused on the business. Well, fine, but core, if you really simplify it, great guy, right? And really, if we just look at life that way, it's so simple. It's so simple if we just stop all of those fights and all of those ideologies. It's so simple. Just living fully, loving, feeling compassion, trying to find our happiness, not our success.
I should probably go check on my dog.
Go check on your dog. I'm really grateful for the time. We keep doing longer and longer.
I know. I just that's so crazy how I could just keep talking and talking because I have so many. I just love reflecting these questions onto you because of the way that you think. So
yeah, today was a difficult conversation. Anyway, thank you for having me.
We have a closing tradition. What 3 things do you do that make your brain better? And 3 things that make it worse.
3 things
that make it better and worse.
So one of my favorite exercises is what I call Meet Becky, that makes my brain better. So while meditation always tells you to try and calm your brain down and keep it within parameters of I can focus on my breathing and so on, Meet Becky is the opposite. I call my brain Becky. A lot of people know that. So Meet Becky is to actually let my brain go loose and capture every thought. So I normally would try to do that every couple of weeks or so. And then what happens is it suddenly is on a paper. And when it's on paper, you just suddenly look at it and say, oh my God, that's so stupid. And you scratch it out, right? Or, oh my God, this needs action. And you actually plan something. And it's quite interesting that the more you allow your brain to give you thoughts and you listen. So the 2 rules is you acknowledge every thought and you never repeat one. Okay. So the more you listen and say, okay, I heard you, you think I'm fat, what else? And, eventually your brain starts to slow down and then eventually starts to repeat thoughts. And then it goes into total silence. Beautiful practice. I don't trust my brain anymore. So that's actually a really interesting practice. So I debate a lot of what my brain tells me. I debate what my tendencies and ideologies are. Okay. I think one of the most again, in my love story with Hannah, I get to question a lot of what I believed was who I am, even at this age. Okay, and that goes really deep, and it really is it's quite interesting to debate, not object, but debate what your mind believes. I think that's very, very useful. And the third is I've actually quadrupled my investment time. So I used to do an hour a day of reading when I was younger. Every single day, like going to the gym. And then it became an hour and a half, 2 hours. Now I do 4 hours a day. 4 hours a day. It is impossible to keep up. The world is moving so fast. And so that these are the good things that I do. The bad things is I don't give it enough time to really slow down. Unfortunately, I'm constantly rushing like you are. I'm constantly traveling. I have picked up a bad habit because of the 4 hours a day of spending more time on screens. That's really, really bad for my brain. And this is a very demanding question. What else is really bad? I've not been taking enough care of my health recently, my physical body health. I had, you remember I told you I had a very bad sciatic pain. And so I couldn't go to the gym enough. And accordingly, that's not very healthy for your brain in general.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you for having me. That was a lot of things to talk about. Thanks, Steve.